favorite technique to break the clenching habit, or really. All right, so rotation is my absolute favorite technique to break the clenching habit, or really to break any kind of movement habit, because just like asymmetrical work or unilateral work, like when you're doing squats on one leg, or if you're doing lunges where one leg is doing something different than the other leg, it teaches you that you can't cheat your way through a dysfunctional left side by making up for it on the right side, or vice versa. And so a similar concept applies with rotation. So when you turn, you are also getting asymmetrical work, but you're preventing the ability to clench. So you can still squat on one leg and clench your abs, or clench your the back of your hip or your pelvic floor. But when you add in that rotation, you then have to shorten on one side and lengthen on the other side. And when you go both directions, you're shortening and lengthening. So when you're rotating both directions, you're shortening and lengthening on both sides. And if you are shortening and lengthening, you can no longer be clenching. And so you have to coordinate this movement with the foundation of your breath and that sequencing of your core. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back in my last few reels. I've been talking a lot about sequencing that core contraction of pelvic floor, lower abs, middle abs, ribs closed down. And you need that sequencing of a core contraction to be coordinated with your exhale, so that you have lengthening on your inhale and contracting on your exhale. But if you then contract on your exhale and rotate, and you want to coordinate your exhale with the harder portion of your rotation, whichever that is, but when you do that, then you have to find a different strategy besides your clenching. So when you rotate, the clenching becomes no longer available to you, and you find a new strategy. So you feel like, oh, maybe I need a contraction in this part of my hip versus that part of my hip, or maybe my rib cage needs to be a little bit more like this and a little bit less like this, or my pelvis, or vice versa. And I'm being vague here on purpose because it feels different in different bodies. And so what it feels like to you is what rotation teaches you. And so then you take that sensation, or that different way of orchestrating contraction or stability, and you apply it to the rest of your life. So then it becomes not just something that you do when you rotate doing this particular exercise you saw on Instagram, but it becomes the way that you move, the way that you hold your rib cage or control your hip, when you bend down to pick up your kid, when you unload the dishwasher, when you pick up the dog food bag, and you apply it to all aspects of your life.